Hi, it's Deirdre. And we are about to have another winter storm here in the Northeast. So I'm glad to be warm and dry. But I wanted to look at some of the questions people have had and comments. And, first of all, I have to tell you that I had literally over hundreds, I can't even count how many, hundreds of responses to the question I asked. And then people wrote back. And I am diving into it now and don't have a ready answer because there were so many and people poured their hearts out. They just were so real and authentic and true, and so I'm cherishing my way through it and listening and reading and paying attention. But my question was, when it comes to overcoming being reactive, disconnected, or overwhelmed, in other words, getting triggered, right? What is the single biggest challenge you've been struggling with? And the responses were, so many and varied. There is a certain theme that I do have that's showing up here, and which I'm going to start addressing more and more, but that people aren't always aware that they're triggered, or that how that being triggered interfaces with their life. So that's a really big topic you need to get clearer and clearer on, and I need to be addressing more and more. And then, of course, once you're triggered, what do you do, right? That's always a big thing. Then learning that distinction about being in the present moment and why it's so important and what's so important about it. That's a really big issue and important topic for people. So the question is, how do we get in the present moment, stay in the present moment? And once we're out of the present moment, once we're triggered and the past is flooding in, how do we climb our way back out of it and get back? So all those really important. And my question to myself and my challenge to myself is, how do I take all that and make it bite-sized so that it's doable, understandable, manageable, and actually, I'm just out of all that. I started a course which I'm actually going to hopefully bring out in public either this weekend or next week sometime on the foundations of healing. So that's coming down the pike. It's really designed to give you the essentials of healing, almost anything. It's gleaned from all the different research on a variety, all the different forms, places people are healing, and finding out what's essential to them all, and then putting them out there in a cost-effective way. Because I have gotten really, it takes so much to be trained as a therapist, so I totally get the problems of it all, but now insurance is cutting into people getting a lot of services. So my question is, how do I help people learn, grow, and develop? And then this also ties into the recent interview I did with Rick Hanson. And if you don't know Rick Hanson, he is amazing. Not only is he a massive intellectual genius, he is a human heart that's as big as the world. He's written 5 books, and his newest book, Resilient, is coming out actually next week. So I did an interview with him, which I loved having the chance to be with him again and to talk to him about it. Now, I'll put the link up when I finish this Facebook Live, but I tell you, the key thing that he talks about, which is so true, is practice. And not practice like going on retreat for years and years and years, but really the practice of everyday life, of putting these skills right into practice. Here's something that he said in the video. It's about practicing and honing the skill over and over again and becoming spongy. He talks about it in terms of the brain because he's a neuroscience guy. He says we have a really good sponge for the yuck, for the difficulties, for survival mechanisms, but what we can do is actually train our brain. And he has this term of being Teflon for the bad and Velcro for the good. And that's what we're trying to change. Instead of having all the yuck stick to us, we're trying to learn how to have good stuff stick to us. and release, be Teflon for all the crummy stuff that happens. And there is crummy stuff that happens. There's no doubt about it. And he said that for himself, that the fundamental attitude that helped his growth perspective and helped him change his life fundamentally was that he learned that he could, inside his own mind, change himself, that he could be a learner. He could help himself grow and heal. So each day he could become a little bit wiser, a little bit more compassionate than he was in the morning. And doing that, and that's really the key. I have to say that's been my experience too, is that slowly but surely we change. One step at a time. Maybe there are people who have big leaps. That's possible. I don't really know them, and it's not been my experience. I always thought I remember when I first talked to my therapist after my own trauma history came up. I said to her, well, how long is this going to take, And she asked me, she's a good therapist, right? She turned it around and said to me, well, how long do you think it will take? And I said, I'm an Aries. I'm strong. I can, maybe 6 months. I can get this done in 6 months. Well, we won't talk about how many years ago that was. That was a long time ago. Oh, gosh. I just feel for all of us, Healing trauma, healing our attachment wounds, it takes a long time. I'm feeling it. I guess it's got emotional saying that. It takes a long time. It's hard work. And there is a path through. That is the whole point of all this. This is what gets me up out of bed in the morning, is knowing that there's a way through, that I can help other people, that I learned. I have really, really transformed my life, and I've watched other people. I've helped other people do the same. I just watched somebody the other day in my office, somebody I've had as a client for years and years. And this person is totally different. Inside, the ability to hold and be with life in a different way is there. It's possible. Whereas before, this person was angry, upset, enraged, reactive all the time. What a gift. What a gift to be able to change that. Donna Cohen just said, I love the interview with Rick Hanson and the Sunday online chat. That's true. One of the things I'm doing is the Safely Embodied Learning community, where people can get together and we can talk more informally. There's structured teachings, but then along with that, we actually work as a community. How do we learn what we're doing and put them into practice? And Donna's saying here that I noticed something that I hadn't thought about before. No matter the trauma, the healing must rest with the individual's openness to learning and using the tools. Isn't that the truth, Donna? Right? She says, that's for me the hardest work, right? Let's all raise our hand on that, right? It's not natural to breathe air into the negative things. Wow, Donna, you should be writing more. This is great. So much of therapy seems to be focused on what went wrong or is wrong. Sunday, I saw you model finding goodness in each item you discussed. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Donna. Oh, by the way, I still find it a gargantuan effort not to run to SH when I'm triggered. Run to something, right? Have some strategy. It's like an addiction that's difficult to beat, right? And, that's why it's not, there's no magic cure. It's these little tiny pieces, moment by moment, change happens where we make a difference in what's going on. We do it incrementally. It's not, like I said, maybe there are people with big leaps, but most of us are doing it. Oh my God, there it is again. Oh my God, there it is again. How can I be self-compassionate, kind to myself that I did it once again? I couldn't X, I couldn't Y, I erupted, I did something destructive to myself, I was hurtful to others, I withdrew when I wanted to do something, all the many things that go on. But how do I do it one tiny moment at a time? And the more we do it one tiny moment at a time, and this is again something Rick Hanson emphasizes, and which is so key, is that the more we do it, we literally are priming the brain to do it differently more often so that it becomes automatic. But it takes, imagine, I just didn't finish my sentence here, but you know how long our pattern has been in play? That's how long we have to do it differently. That means practicing over and over. And, I came from this point of view of that practice was like, almost like staunch and hard and work really hard and never let go. And I really have learned that the kind of practice that helps the most is when we're kind to ourselves and we're gentle, we're caring, and we're compassionate, but we do it small little bits. Like, oh, right, okay, I could have done that better or differently. At the end of the day, when I think about my day, even if I have hurt somebody in small ways, can I just be with that hurt, or have been hurt by somebody else? Just be with that in a small way and let it move through. Let it clean itself out. Do whatever repair I need to do on the outside, but to change myself on the inside. And then life gets better and better, easier over time. So the other thing I wanted to talk about here was somebody had asked me wanted to do a workshop I'm doing in Toronto, and got sidetracked by the idea that I think the title has something about yoga in it, because I teach a lot about the integration of yoga psychology with trauma and attachment healing, and where the intersection is, which is actually a pretty remarkable intersection, and I'm glad to be a voice for that. But when we think about yoga, often people think about, certainly in the West, about the kind of yoga where you do the posture, where your body takes on some form or shape, and you do that. And that is one of the ways that we practice yoga. But that is not the way that although I use postures and I use breathing practices and other things, what I'm more interested is in the psychology of yoga and the philosophy of yoga. And I'll tell you why. The word yoga means union. It means not union with something else, but union with ourselves. How do I find the path to reconnect with myself, to link my heart and soul and mind and body together? That's yoga. Now, the teachings of yoga are a wide path, and there's many particular things that can be done that are the practice of yoga. But the idea is more like, how can I return to myself? How can I return to my heart, to my longing, to my truth, and let that guide me? Let that take me forward, and that guidance shines the light on it. Now, those of you who do internal family systems, we talk about that as self-energy. It's the same thing. But yoga has all these practices about it that are wide-ranging. So the yoga that I'm interested in is part of what we call jnana yoga, which is the philosophy of yoga. It has been said to be a way to distinguish between reality and irreality. Now think about that. When I'm triggered, and I recently did a Facebook post about that, when I'm triggered or reactive, I'm not really in the present moment. I'm not really in reality. I'm caught by the swirling treacherousness of my mind. My past, the hurts of the past are flooding through, and the filter is obscuring my life, my interactions. So that's what jnana yoga is about, is this difference between what is real, like right now I'm here talking to you, and what's unreal is all the muck and yunk and stuff I can make about that, right? So there's the truth, and then there's the ways that we warp the truth given our perspective and our experience of the past. That's really hard to untangle sometimes. That's why the practice is so long. And I guess over time, now that I'm getting older, I've learned to relax into it and to trust the process more. There's also the really important thing about the jnana yoga, the path of self-knowledge really is what it is. It's about, how do I learn my own path. This isn't a religious tradition in that there's a being to follow who spoke the words from on high. No, this is, you're the one, it's a living practice. You're the one who knows how you find your way back to yourself. It's not about me telling you or anybody else telling you. Yoga is about this is the path, and how do you listen, and how do you hear, and how do you find your way back to yourself? And I guess that's what really inspires me, is getting out of my own way and learning to listen to you and hear how your life force, your heart is guiding you to find your way back to yourself. That's what's important to me. And I can feel myself a little emotional about that, because that's how important it is to me. Now, granted, there are practices and teachings and skills that can help hold that body of knowledge, so you can dip in and try it out and see, well, does this work? Does it not? Does this work for me? Does it not? And that's what I'm going to do in this course that I'm putting out in the next couple of days. Really short, very cost effective, very, little bits. Like, I think, I did it the other day. I figured out how there's like 20 videos, and they're just short little bursts, like 2 minutes to 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes is the longest, something like that. It's all about putting it into your everyday life and seeing how it works. So, all right, I've talked long, and great to be with you. Thanks for being here. So sweet to see you guys here, and I'll see you next week. I really like having a way to take the questions and everything and bring it back to you, and do whatever I can to help you in this way. There's multiple ways, but this is one way. So I hope this helps. Give me a heart, a love, a thumbs up, so that I know that we're connected, and that we're resonating, and that we're moving on the same path together. Okay, my dears, thank you, and lots of love, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.